Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome to a news update video for Marvel Heroes Omega. Now this particular update video will cover the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version. The reason for that is there's a patch coming on the 28th of this month, which is this Thursday coming, and it will actually be what's known as the Mega patch. So it will include the increase to Mega difficulty, where you can get increased gear and also XP and also challenge as well, I should add. And on top of that you can get a Mega gear dropping. Now just before we do discuss a Mega gear and how that works, I'll also mention as well that it looks like with the patch we're getting the Apocalypse operation, which is pretty awesome. So fingers crossed we'll be getting the 4 enhanced horsemen costumes alongside that as well. But for the actual Omega items, the way these work is these will be a rarity above cosmic. They have a chance of dropping in a Mega difficulty. These will be for your slots 1 to 5. Now they're actually, or the way they work is like set items, so there's going to be 30 in total, and we're told that they will regularly release new sets, which is pretty good, something to grind for. Now the way the sets work, so it's slots 1 to 5, the more items you actually have with the same effects, they will actually stack up to 5 times. Now we've got 9 ones that have been previewed. The first one, unfortunately the tooltip is cut off, but it looks pretty interesting, so I wanted to bring it up anyway. And it's the Thunder God's Gift, so this one would work great on Storm or even 4. I suppose it is called Thunder God's Gift after all. So if you have one of these, when you use an electric power you call for Thunderbolt to strike your foes for 15,000 damage, 10-second cooldown. Now if you can get another piece of slot 1 to 5 that has this particular effects, then you'll then get a 20% base damage to electric powers, so that's 800 damage. If you can get a third one, when you brutal strike with an electric power, you reduce the cooldown of the Thunderbolt on all electric powers by 1 second. Looks like if you get 4 it's 20% base damage to electric. Unfortunately we can't see 5 because, as mentioned, the tooltip is cut off there, but let's look at some of the other ones that were previewed. So for this one we have Raucous Reinforcements. So when you hit an elite or boss enemy, summon 2 turrets who fire at enemies for 10 seconds, dealing 1100 damage per shot, 20-second cooldown there. And if you stack 2 of this, its turrets fire God's blasts every few seconds, dealing 5500 damage. For free you have turrets providing cover and fire, increasing your range base damage by 20% while they're alive. 4 you summon 1 additional turret, and 5 you double the damage bonus of cover and fire. So that's interesting. Of course that's going to be for Rocket Raccoon, but to be honest I quite like the sounds of that, and maybe Hawkeye. I would like all the turrets being out. That sounds like it could be quite fun there. But let's have a look at the next one. This one here is quite interesting then. It's Quicksilver Threads. So when you use your medkit, restore 2 charges to your dash power. You can also get 30% dodge rating multiplier, 15% critical hit chance to dash powers plus 1 additional charge to dash powers, another 30% dodge rating multiplier, and lastly if you can get all 5 of this set you get 250% damage to dash powers, and 1 second cooldown is added on to your dash powers there. So certainly interesting. I can't think of an hero offhand who that would actually work on, but for certain heroes, even if you stack 2 pieces of this for the additional 30% dodge rating multiplier, that could certainly help out your survivability a lot. But let's have a look at the next one. This one here then is certainly very interesting. It's Gamora's Garment. So every non-critical hit causes you to gain focus, increasing your chance to critical hit by 2%, and the bonus is reset when you critical hit. So essentially for this you're going to want to have high, just base flat damage, and you don't have to worry too much about the crit chance if you're attacking quickly, because it'll quickly zoom up and then you'll crit and then it'll go back down and it'll zoom back up again if you're hitting fast enough. You also get a 50% critical damage increase for 2 items. 3 items you get focus increases your chance to critical hit by an additional 0.5, so that takes it up to 2.5. You then have 50 critical damage, and then you have, for 5 sets, focus increases your chance to critically hit by an additional 0.5, taking that up to 3% per stack there. But let's have a look at the next one. The next set we have here is Stark Tech Stealth Weave. So if we look at, if you have one of them, When you use a stealth power, the next time you deal damage to an elite or higher enemy, that attack will trigger a weak point strike, dealing an additional 15,000 damage, 10-second cooldown there. I'm really hoping these attacks can actually crit or brute, because certain procs in the game can't, but if these can, it could make them actually really pretty nice. For two bonuses here, you would get 20% base damage versus bosses, so that's 800 damage. Then when you use a stealth power, regenerate 5% of your max health per second and gain 20% movement speed for 6 seconds or until you exit stealth. For 4 pieces, you would have an additional 20% base damage versus bosses, so that's 1600 in total. And then finally you can increase the damage of your rank 1, which is an additional 100% damage to weak point strikes, so it would take it up to roughly 30,000. Again, if it could crit, that could be really pretty nice there. But let's have a look at the next one. Next one we have here then would be absolutely awesome on Juggernaut. So it's Shards of Sitarak. Now for the 1 item piece, you get plus 25% base damage to movement powers. For 2 you have an extra charge to movement powers. 3 is when you use a movement power, increase the base damage of movement powers by 20% for 5 seconds. That stacks up to 10 times. For 4 items, you have the buff effect can stack up to 20 times, and then finally for 5, the buff effect stacks up to 30 times. And when you reach 30 stacks, stacks are consumed to reduce movement power cooldown by a whopping 70% for 5 seconds there. So I would really like to see how that would work on him. I think that'd be really pretty interesting, but let's have a look at the next one. So we now have Dormammu's Embrace. Now this one is all about fire damage, so for 1 item you get 20% damage against targets with burning status with fire powers. For 2 you get 25% base damage to fire powers. 3, when you use a fire power, you call upon a living flame of the Faltine to attack enemies, so it works as a dot. Actually uses the visual from, it would be, let's see, it's the Human Torch. You can call in tornadoes and it uses that, so it is a rehash of a visual, but I quite like the idea of these set pieces actually providing additional skills. Even if it is just a dot, I do really like the idea of the additional skill on screen there. For 4 items you get another 25% base damage to fire powers, and then finally for 5 you summon an additional living flame, so that would be 3 in total that you would actually have there. But let's have a look at the next one. This one we have here then is Quake's Dynamic Gear, so it's all about Force Heroes, so that would potentially be Cyclops or even Hulk. I think it sounds like it would work pretty nice on Hulk. So for 1 item, 3 seconds after using a force power, send an aftershock through the area, dealing 24,000 damage and causing them to take an additional 10% damage for 5 seconds, 10-second cooldown. You then gain an additional 25% base damage to force powers. For 3 items you pulse a second aftershock after another 3-second delay. I will be curious how the visual in this one looks. For 4 you get another 25% base damage to force powers, and then for 5, aftershock effect cooldown and delay before activating reduced by 50% there. So that one could be pretty nice, but again I'm quite curious to see what the visual on it is like. Hopefully it looks pretty awesome, but let's have a look at the next one. Final set bonus we look at here then is Oath of the Destroyer. So for one of these items, each critical strike with melee powers builds a stack of rage. When 50 stacks are reached, they are consumed to trigger Destroyer's Wrath, increasing your brutal strike chance by 100% for 5 seconds. That could be really quite nice if you use it before you have a signature that's potentially a dot style signature. You also gain 50% brutal damage. If you have 3 items, your rage stacks required to trigger Destroyer's Wrath are reduced to 40. For 4 items you gain another 50% brutal damage, and then for 5 your rage stacks required to trigger Destroyer's Wrath are reduced to 30 there. So that one really is quite intriguing to me. So that's the 9 mega sets covered that they actually showed off, and as mentioned at launch there'll be another additional 21, so I'm really quite interested to see what the options we've got there. Again, do bear in mind, as I mentioned, you can mix and match if you want, so if you want 5 that are just simply the rank 1, you can certainly do that. So hopefully we can come up with some quite interesting builds as a result of it. Now with the changes to difficulty and the changes to items, I'm looking for some feedback from you all as to what kind of videos you want. Now in regards to a mega trial videos, I don't see a massive amount of value in them. The reason being, you will be using the same build that you actually use in my Cosmic Trial videos. Now, despite that, if you would like to see some playthroughs of the Omega Trial, I'm certainly happy to put them up, but I don't really think there would be much value in me adding the whole section about the skills and the talents, because you've already seen it before, and I can simply provide a link to that in the description. So let me know what you think about that. In regards to all these Omega sets, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I could do one big video looking at them, or what I could do is individual videos actually focusing on each Omega set, and then I could discuss the heroes that it would work for. But as always, the way this channel works and always has worked is you guys are in control of it, so do let me know the kind of content you're looking for in future, and I'll do my best to come up with something that will work for everyone. But as always, thanks for tuning in for these videos, and I'll see you all again soon.